Sachin! So many people came to me after that and said I cried. They said it's supposed to be a comedy show. When I went on the stage and the lights on me, I would be a different person.
Come on, man. I don't want to come to another Sholay parody.
They're doing auditions. You should go. I said, who is it for? It's like, oh, Jay. Hey, apna dost hai. Basically, I screwed up big time because I was like not prepared for it. I'm like, shit.
So you tried to back out of the show?
I tried to back out.
Are you kidding me? Kev, great job.
So my dad used to work in cement. So his dream was my children will become engineers and work in cement. So then again, हमारे सपने भी वहीं तक के limit थे. I really enjoyed learning because for me, when I'm looking at these induction boards, then when I go read about them, it is an area of interest. In Diploma, I was actually the state topper.
There is a bit of a stigma around Diploma.
I think 90% of the students in Diploma wanted to just do Diploma because you can get a job.
Yes, अच्छे Diploma engineers का दहशत रहता था.
First company that came on campus, I'm like, shit, I got an offer in the first company. Should I wait to see if there's something better is coming? I was going back to my own college to do campus interviewing. And the same place where I was lining up like, hey, when is the next company coming?
Come to a point where I have exhausted all of my capabilities. अब मुझे expand करने के लिए ये देश छोड़ के जाना पड़ेगा.
And then they said, oh, we're going to shut down. Everybody gets like 3 months of severance. And it hurt a lot.
नौकरी से निकाल दिया.
In India, that's like such a shame. In India, you have people, once they figure out something wrong, they'll show up on purpose. Like, oh, you're not going to job today. Why somebody who does everything right, works hard, doesn't get something, and somebody who's coasting around is getting everything.
Many levels of adjustments and adaptations.
Yeah, I mean, coming into US is coming in with a suitcase.
Right.
My children would never understand that concept. But I've met some of the most wonderful people in Kansas City. I've learned to look at things glass half full all the time.
Why do you think it's worth it?
If I got that, it's very important that I give back.
I wish I could address 500 people like that. It's not about the fluency of speech, it's the fluency of thought.
When I got hired into Amazon, I was hired as an engineering manager, level 6.
There's a hierarchy around leadership.
If you're a good leader, you have to look at people and identify their potential. Hey, you can do this. Saurabh, you're watching. Thank you.
Everyone that I know has a complaint with the leaders. And that complaint is they don't have much time.
There is a saying that if I had more time, I would write less. Thoughts on the paper.
Do you think letting go is a more important skill than being better at controlling?
One of the leadership principles in Amazon says, if you're doing the right thing, you should be willing to be misunderstood for a period of time.
To become a leader, you need to graduate from the mentorship stage to a sponsorship stage.
The right thing is not to oversell yourself. Sell in the right forum at the right time to the right set of people.
Those senior leaders are saying that life is not set.
So life set would be like you open a podcast and suddenly there are like 100 million subscribers. That doesn't happen.
Never. We found that Expedia was the only application that gives safety ratings in that area for a certain hotels.
The marketplace trust and safety team, kudos. Tech boom has already started.
Sundar literally called AI the electricity of our time.
No matter what field you're in, if you're not going to use AI, you will be left behind.
What if I get a jack of all who, after having an expertise in engineering and technology, now leading a multi-billion-dollar company as a senior technology executive, this friend and mentor of mine has turned his direction into more artistic things. Have you ever thought that you did not have the right kind of financial backing when you wanted to pursue something important in life, just for yourself or for others? Have you ever wondered, why am I unlucky that I do not have the right kind of guiding light in my life? Whether that is your father, your uncle, friends and family that is around you. Have you ever wondered, can I find a stranger? Can I find family in a stranger who could guide me through the hard path that they have lived and walked in their life that could inspire me to do and achieve things that I wanted to do? I know an individual, I've been very fortunate to know an individual as such, who has had a direct and immediate impact in my life. Today, I could proudly say that one of his advice back in the day could be a strongest contributor to unlocking all the different potentials that I have realized in my life in the last few years. So this episode is dedicated to all of those jack of alls who have chosen one single path and yet not forgotten to give it back to the people that they see themselves in. So with that, I want to welcome to the show with all my love, pride, respect, and honor, my friend and mentor, Sachin Singh.
Thank you.
Sachin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. By the way, that was introduction for me.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. I'm doing great.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much.
Yeah, I can't complain.
How do you feel about your journey so far?
I think a lot of gratitude. You know, I've learned to look at things glass half full all the time. I can look back and complain about lots of what I don't have. But I think off late, especially in the later years, I've learned more and more to focus on what I have. So I guess if I look back, great journey, depending on how you want to look at it from a career perspective or family perspective, it's been great.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by good people, good friends, just genuinely good people, right? And they care for each other, they care for me, and that's why I feel like it's gratitude would be the one word I would use.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what a way to start the show, because I wanted to specifically have you on the show to share a very direct message to all of the youth especially of India, and others as well, if they can get inspired, because there are ways in which you can draw parallels from other people's life, even if they are not in cultural context of your life. But especially India, given where socially we give a lot of impetus on social success. And in today's world, that could mean corporate success, money and luxuries and all those kind of things that you can get. But then again, the path to that is also something that is not ignored.
Yeah.
It is actually very willfully disrespected if you are not on the right path from the society's point of view. So if I'm looking at an executive who is making worldly decisions impacting thousands of people directly and millions indirectly, one would say, okay, tell me which IIT school this person went to, who was their godfather, and what kind of family they belong to, what was their starting point, and things like that. I wanted to have you here, not because of who you are today, but to share how you got here today. Absolutely. And I think that is one of the things that you personally told me you were passionate about sharing your own story. Because there is not just one way to do it. And probably the best way is not yet documented for you.
There is no one way.
So how do you feel about that?
About sharing the journey?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that. And if it inspires even one person, it's worth it.
Why do you think it's worth it? Does it come from the point where you felt the lack, or you feel the gratitude that you got the support, or it's both at the same time?
I think to me, support kind of came from unexpected people at unexpected time. People who didn't have to support me, they were not necessarily owed anything to me, so to speak. And I felt like that's why I also feel gratitude, right? Because every time something would stop not going in the right direction, someone would show up, and be there, help, sponsor, mentor, what have you. And so if I look back to the teachers in my primary school, professors in my undergrad school in India, some of my mentors in my career, like I feel like if they were not there at the right time, I don't know where I would have landed. So it's important that we have people that you look up to and learn from, or who bring some positive change in your life. And so I feel like if that's if I got that, it's very important that I give back. So if this is one way to give back, then great, why not?
Thank you so much. This is so on point to the brand of the podcast, because as I mentioned earlier, Jack of All is about giving back, and I want to create this platform so that individuals like you can come and have the stage, so that you can go and inspire whoever is willing to take that lesson. And at the same time, I do this fun exercise where I imagine if I had a time machine and I could go back in time, would I decide to have Sachin on my show, and what would be that point in my time in my life, right? And the answer would definitely be a resounding yes. When? It would be around 8 years ago when I met you the first time. A little bit of backstory there for me. I've repeated this multiple times on the podcast that I myself have not had a very traditional or a linear journey as you would in US or in my career. But I used to be a petroleum engineer for a good part of my life, a mechanical instrumentation engineer, very much into the core engineering part. And I lived in Oklahoma for 8 years. Very different life, slow life, right? And that was the first experience I had in US. I had no other work experience, more than just 2 years in India. Being a driven individual who was also responsible for his family, I figured out very quickly that the oil and gas industry is not a good industry for me because it's so dependent on the international politics that no matter how good I get here, I can get laid off. So at that point of time, tech was doing great. So I somehow made it into Amazon. That's a story for another day. But the first day I came into Amazon, or the first week, I was like, oh, there's this new director. Like, oh, Sachin Singh, like, oh, the Desi director. The first thing, like, Desi director, okay, Desi director. The first question, kya kare baap re, kaisa hoga? You know? Oh my God, to my surprise and to my pleasant surprise, you were addressing to not less than 400 organization members that you directly influenced. And you told them very clearly about what your goals are for the next year and who's playing what part. I'd never had this kind of an experience in any company before that. And I was actually very intimidated by Amazon at that point of time. And as soon as that ended and I was inspired by that already, you took me out for coffee because I was the new guy. So I was like, "Arey yaar, ab ye mujhe leke bhi, he's going to take me." Thoda sa, I was a little sehma sa. He took me on coffee and he's like, okay, Adi, so tell me, like, I just do this coffee and, it's like Sachin style. I just do this coffee and you tell me, like, what do you want to know about Amazon and why are you here and what excites you and things like that. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I'm here for, the learning experience. And I was trying to hide the fact that I'm not very IT technical. Like, I was trying to say other things. And I was like, what is something that I can ask him? So like, what do you want to do? So I said, like, in the next 5 years, actually a big win would be if I could just articulate the way you did in the meeting. And I said, what do you mean by that? I said, the way you were speaking, I just loved it. I was like, I wish I could address 500 people like that. And clearly spilling the plan, right? So I said, how do you do that, Sachin? And you were like, well, it's not about the clarity of the fluency of speech, it's the fluency of thought. Yeah. So you start from the thinking, and then over the time, I saw you give yourself as a director seminars on mechanisms, on different things that were around the same topic of clarity of thought, governing principles, and someone who works with you would know that Sachin uses these terms a lot. Yes. What is the governing thought here? Why are we doing these and things like that? That was very transformational for me. And I would say that I took as a feedback and I really grabbed onto it. And then it translated into the work that I did in your team. It translated into the work that I did outside of your team as well in the creative pursuit. So first of all, thank you so much for that.
I'm glad that helped, yes.
And second of all, how come you got to that point that you could influence another individual to unlock their potential in such a scalable way?
Like I said earlier, I was fortunate enough to have people like that, many of them to name. And I've also had, incidents where I kind of learned what not to do. And funny enough, I'll tell my journey into Amazon. That reminded me of my first week in Amazon, right? When I got hired into Amazon, I was hired as an engineering manager, level 6,
wow.
SDM. And again, same thing, right? I came from the East Coast from a much smaller company. It was a startup that got acquired and lots of bad stuff happened there. And I was like, I want to go out of here. So coming into Amazon, much larger scale, you were looking for support. But what had happened at that point is the team that I got into, there was one TPM who wanted to try their hands on being an engineering manager. Tried it, decided that that's not for them. And they said, I'll go back to my TPM role. And so the backfill kind of became available. So my skip manager who worked with this TPM gave them a try and whatever. They worked together really well for a long time. And then I came in, new to Amazon, new to the team. I have no idea what's going on. And then there were these two people who knew what's going on. They were in there. And I felt like that, you had a person who was doing my role right around the corner, always, double guessing me and double hey, why are you doing so I didn't feel like I'm able to do my job. And it always felt like from day one, I'm under the microscope. So there's no support. There is no hey, what do you need? It's like, I wouldn't do this. He wouldn't do that. I'm not an expert in this field, right? So what that made me realize is that when you bring someone in, you're not bringing in because they're Amazon experts or they may be expert in their field. They may be a good programmer, good TPM, good manager. But in fact, at that time, there was very few people who even had e-commerce experience at that scale. Like I'm talking about long time.
Yes, yes.
So it's important to realize why you bring this person in. They're not going to produce value on day one. You bring them in, and then you have to invest. Not just you, but the organization has to invest in them. And then you start seeing the value. Like it depends on the role, 2 months to 6 months. It could be a year. If you're hiring a very senior executive, they may take a long time to fully grasp the whole thing, 1,000, 2,000 people organization, right? So I learned what not to do. Is we don't want to hire people and then expect on day one, and and have all these sort of training wheels that you think are providing training wheels because hey, I'm going to tell you what to do and then see if you would have, ask.
Look at you go fly.
Yeah, like you got to let people learn from their own mistakes and stuff like that, right? Provide the right guardrails and all that. So anyway, so I think while I've had people who've given me support, I've also had situations where it's not the right way to bring people in. So some of those things kind of led me to think, as my organization is bringing people into the fold, how are we providing them with the right structure?
I see.
How are we making sure that they feel supported? There will be a time to judge and performance and all that, but are we giving them the best shot coming in?
Right.
So so I think I still do, as much as possible, meeting teams, skip level, and I love kind of doing that in an informal setup. So the reason I took you out for coffee versus calling you in my office makes a big difference. Right?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I think as a senior leader, you need to bring down barriers. You need to bring down the wall because people always look at you and you be like, oh, so-and-so is a director.
Yeah.
Right? But when they're taking you out for coffee or a drink and having a conversation, then it's a very different conversation.
Absolutely. I remember I worked for a while for you. So we've had so many other anecdotes to share. Yeah. I remember one point of time I had no business talking to you that week. Yeah. And somebody told me Sachin dhoond raha hai. I was like, what? Sachin kyun dhoond raha hai? Sachin came like, oh, Adi, I saw a video of you performing in this stand-up comedy somewhere in Amazon. I said, oh, why did you not share? I was like, I was just shy. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do a stand-up comedy for our organization, like in all hands? I said, are you sure? Like, I will also do it. I said, are you kidding me? Like, I'm Amazon, right? Yeah. Anybody working at Amazon is not thinking that they're going to do a 50s style 2-people comedy show and survive, right? Yeah. But then it worked out well. Yes. I love the style. It was a bit scary, but then, I felt like it was you recognizing something that I enjoy, and that others at Amazon were enjoying, and then you realize, मेरा organization क्यों नहीं enjoy कर सकता इस चीज को? And I thought that was amazing.
It came from the fact that you need to bring down barriers, right? It's very important for leaders to feel vulnerable, that they are human. When we make tough choices that may not be very popular,
right?
They are tough choices. They are tough because they're tough, right? Yeah. But it doesn't mean that, and so like trying to explain the why behind the scenes, letting people ask those questions like, hey, why are you making those decisions? Right. Making feel approachable is very important. So whatever it takes. So like when I saw your unique skill that you bring, I'm like, maybe this is one way we can further bring down. Yes. And that people love that.
Yeah, and it actually, we saw the team building happen in the real moment. People had a topic to have a conversation about. In fact, after many years of leaving Amazon, when I put a post up on LinkedIn, someone reminded me of that incident, which was a few years ago before that, right? Yeah. So that tells you that there was a lasting impact to the decision that you made and, to the thing that we did. Yeah. You and I both are Mumbai boys, grown up in the 90s, where liberalization was ripe, and the divide between the poor and the rich was actually something that you could, tangibly feel. And both of us were on the receiving end of the of the dance. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the cards that you were dealt.
Yeah, I was growing up, pretty modest surroundings, to put it, in that way. So we were a nuclear family. My brother is about 6 years older than me, and we lived, I would say, generally happy lives. Like we had most of what we needed, but obviously not the luxuries of life. So we won't go on vacations every year, and all the branded stuff and all the latest school toys and gadgets, and like all my friends had. So I didn't have that, right? But we lived, good lives, I would say. one thing that I'm very thankful for my parents is that they were very clear that my brother and I will get the best education that they could provide.
I see.
And they made a lot of sacrifices for that. Like I didn't see my parents go out for dinner or movie or whatever. Right? They were like, no, we're gonna be here.
I see.
And providing the framework. They themselves were not educated, very highly educated. So after some point in time, there wasn't much guidance on what to do specifically because that's my.
It's a very generic guidance. अच्छे से bowling डाल.
Exactly. Like पढ़ाई करो, अच्छे से करो, study hard. They wanted us to be engineers, which most Indian parents want, but with limited resources. So I knew that for me, if I want to get into engineering, I have to get a certain level of grades because I don't know if it's true or not in India anymore, but there was this in Bombay, there was free seats and paid seats, so there were subsidized seats essentially that the government would provide. So I had to get that, right? So I think the cards I was dealt with, I would say, not a very cushy life, but a good life.
Good life.
Very nurturing, loving from my parents. Like I don't want them to, if they're listening to this, to feel like I'm complaining. Like they did the best they can in the financial situation that they were in.
Absolutely.
But again, like I said, most importantly, made sure that we got the right education.
And how about inspiration? There was a proximity to inspiration other than your parents. Were you considered as a sharp kid, intelligent kid?
Well, I think if till 10th grade, which is a high school in India, right? Like I would be the studious kid.
You were already good. You already knew you had high intellect.
I was usually the top first 1, 2, 3 rank.
Okay.
So I was good at studies.
Okay.
Right? So I was
and
good
this
at studies.
was self-motivated?
I think at some point I didn't for me that was kind of what was expected. Like, growing up, that's what I've heard. And so by the way, I never felt like I don't want to do this and I'm being forced to do this or whatever. I'm like, hey, you have to get first 3 rank. And in some ways it gave me a high that I want to be that too. So studies was not a problem. I like to be that.
Yeah.
And to some extent, my brother was more traditional, good at studies and that's it. I wasn't very good at sports, but I would participate in school shows and things like that. Like I wanted to venture out and do other things like that.
So all your artistic kida.
I have done stage shows in school and stuff like that. But school production quality is very different than the one we did recently. And my parents' point of view was that as far as you get the top 3, fine, limited freedom on that front. And so for me, that was also motivation to not lose that because then I might lose this.
Yeah.
So, I would, get into doing some of that artistic stuff.
I see.
Inspiration-wise, again, I would say there are teachers from my school that saw something in this nerdy kid that he could be good at stage.
And did they give you actionable advice, like helpful advice?
They actually gave me a part. There were more outgoing students in the class that were more suited to do the lead role for a play or whatever. And my teacher would be like, no, I think you can do this.
I see.
And I was, now if my school friends may not even recognize me, but I was very short. Not very short, very thin, big, thick glasses.
I see.
So for teacher to pick me, if you look back, why would she give this person a chance? But she's, they always saw something that you have whatever stage presence at that point. And I always felt like when I went on the stage and the lights on me, I would be a different person.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know what God gets into me.
I have noticed this. You're a very different person when you're addressing more than 10 to 15 people. And you're a very different person when you're individually in an intimate conversation with your friends.
And that's been something growing up, right? If I was looking at myself, I'd be like, who is this person?
Can I tell you something though, which is very common?
Yeah.
It's something that I've observed very common with performing artists.
Yeah.
Performing artist, stand-up comedian, maybe. If you ask me to talk to 2 or 3 people in a room, I'll just fumble. If you give me 1,000 people, I have no escape, basically, right? I have to kill it now. This is the only way I know.
Sometimes I have, if one-on-one also, sometimes I'll have conversation even looking in somebody's eye. And, and people find it odd, no, that's not you. I'm like, no, that's situationally,
it's just
very
different. Yes.
Right, and especially after the whole COVID thing, and Zoom has made it even worse because now I don't.
Interesting.
When we all came back after, back to office, I was having real trouble looking at people's eyes. But yeah, I think I think being on stage gave me a little bit of that, like added that dimension to my
Yeah,
life. that
but
I
it
have.
never came to a point where you were like, "Ki, nahi, nahi, mujhe, I want to do this. This is what I want to pursue." You were like, "No, academics is something that I enjoy."
I actually, you know, I know that we didn't have a choice growing up that you have to be an engineer, but I actually loved journey
I see.
of being an engineer.
I see. What I'm trying to ask is like, did you have like a clarity ki mujhe, I want to do something in my life, which is like become a CEO or become a actor or a sports person or something like that?
I think career-wise, I had always in my mind that getting in. I want to be a senior leader. Can I be a CEO someday? Maybe. I don't know. Like it's not this maniacal, like every day I get up worrying about
Obsession.
Right? And every time I got an opportunity, kind of also, I'm lucky that points in my life, some other side thing kind of came about. The show that we did came out of nowhere. I wasn't close to being part of that, and I took it. And it's a great experience and great memory in my life. But like, would that be something I would drop everything and do that? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's not,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but would I do another one next year? Sure, if the opportunity comes.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So then we are at Maharashtra SSC 10th.
Yes.
10th.
Yes.
10th के बाद फिर everything would be easy for you after 10th, right? Just kidding.
Well, yeah, I wish.
But yeah.
Every time growing up, parents would be like, "अरे 10th कर लो, फिर life set है, 12th कर लो, life set है, engineering कर लो."
Tell me,
life
अभी आप senior leader बन गए, life set.
Life कभी life set नहीं. Life is
नहीं
never
है.
set. Man. There's always
दोस्तों सुन लो, senior leaders are saying that life is not set. So
But I actually then thought about like, what does a life set even mean?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
life probably is never. If your life is really set for you, then it's boring.
yes.
Like, what do you
क्योंकि मेरा life अभी set है, but
Yeah.
10th वाले आदि के लिए.
हाँ, नहीं,
You know,
but
my
that's-
life is set
that's
now, but
what-
for 10th
but
आदि,
that's
you
what we
just want to
thought.
sit. Yeah.
That's what we thought
Yeah.
that life set means. Like even now, you are doing podcasts. You love doing this, I'm sure. But there are challenges, right?
Yes, of course. Every
Every
day.
day. We talk about how to get engagement, how do you get more. Like there's always, but these are challenges you want to deal with.
Yes.
You want to work on
Yes.
these challenges. So life set would be like you open a podcast and suddenly there are like 100 million subscribers. That doesn't happen.
Never.
Even once you get 100, you want the next 100.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
I got good marks in
Okay,
SSC,
good,
but
good.
I didn't top anything, to be honest. Then the path that, so my dad used to work in Siemens. So yeah, and it was like 20, 30 minutes drive from where we used to live. And so his dream was Siemens was making electrical equipment, so his dream was my children will become engineers and work in Siemens. And they'll come and work as senior leaders in Siemens. तो होता है ना कि हमारे सपने भी वहीं तक के लिमिट थे कि वो but where growing up that was a big deal. I become an electric engineer and go to work for Siemens and so and I said if I have to become an electrical engineer instead of taking that the regular college and then 4 years of undergrad, I took a different path. So in Maharashtra there is a diploma in engineering.
Yes.
Right? So many people would know it, many people may not.
Yes.
It's a 3-year course, again, different tracks of engineering.
Yes.
Then you get a diploma in electrical engineering, and after that you get second year into
Yes.
the undergrad. So it's still 3+3 versus 2+4, 6
Absolutely.
years. So I thought that's a better journey because why
Yeah.
do I want to go study, +2, all the other topics? Let me do. And I was very fascinated by electrical engineering, like to be honest. And whenever I had the opportunity to go and be in Siemens and look at the factory floor, they were building these big transformers, they were building this circuit breakers. So I was like, wow, it's like, being in a Charlie's factory.
Yeah.
chocolate
Can I just
factory.
skip school and just
Yeah.
directly get here?
Sure.
Right? That's what you might have thought, right?
Yeah.
Can I just skip school
Yeah.
and everything and just
Yeah,
be here? And
yeah.
why not
I
just
would want to be
okay.
here in this floor,
as a kid?
and that's the thing. My dad pretty much worked here all his life. He wants me to be in that office. Like, how can I
Yeah.
get there, right?
Yeah.
That's my dream. But again, like I said, those 3 years 3 years plus 3 years, where the journey was also very much fun. I really enjoyed learning because for me, when I'm looking at these big motors, induction motors, then when I go read about them, it is an area of
Yes.
interest.
Yes,
It's not
100%.
like, should I have to do studies, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Interestingly, in Diploma, I was actually the state topper for the 3 years that I was there.
That's fantastic.
And it is not because I was forced to study.
So taking a different route, did that hurt you? Because I know
I don't
there is a
think
bit
so.
of a stigma around diploma.
There is a stigma.
Diploma has both positive and negatives,
Correct.
right? The positive is that the program actually allows you to test out whether you want to
Correct.
do engineering
That's
long
right.
time or not,
Yeah.
without putting too many resources of the
That's
family,
right.
because it's a very
That's right.
expensive deal.
Yeah.
So I think it gives a good opportunity to experiment. Secondly, if you are either for many reasons financially not capable to go outside of your state,
Yeah.
or did not have enough, for whatever reason, health
Yeah.
reason, etc., did not have enough marks or something like that, it gives you an avenue to still continue on a technical path.
That's right.
Where you could
Yeah.
still have a
Yeah.
second chance in
That's
a way,
right.
right?
That's right.
Through these things, after you graduated diploma, I think toppers have a very different
Yeah.
outlook,
Yeah.
or others have different
Yeah.
outlook of them. What were some challenges for you to get into engineering or not get into
Yeah,
engineering?
I think 90% of the students in diploma wanted to just do diploma because you can get a job.
Yes, absolutely.
And you got pretty decent jobs in electricity boards and things like that. Decent, well-paid jobs, a lot of government
Yes,
jobs actually, right? And so most people in there were there because it's a much cheaper way to get a diploma
Yes.
and get into that track. For me, it was very clear. Ultimately, I wanted to get into undergrad. So for me, it was
I see.
a stepping
I
stone.
see.
And I said, why do I want to waste time 2
Right.
years studying all the different subjects I don't like
Yeah.
versus being electrical
Yeah.
engineering? I love electrical
Absolutely.
engineering. So
And
it-
then you joined SPJ in
I went
Andheri.
to Sardar Patel College of Engineering, SPCE.
SPCE,
which is
yeah,
one of the top
SPCE.
engineering
Absolutely.
schools in Bombay. Now I think it's become part of the IIT network. It wasn't then, right? So VJTI and SPCE
Yes.
would have been our thing. So,
And it has many global branches now
Correct.
in Dubai,
That's right,
etc. Yeah.
So I got into that in second year in college. The advantage there was because I've done 3 years electrical, I was like, I know a lot of shit already. So people wanted to be with me because because
नहीं मैं हिंदी में बोलता हूँ कि मैं engineering में बता रहा हूँ because मैं भी engineering I'm also an engineering student in Maharashtra in Mumbai. अच्छे diploma engineers का दहशत रहता था.
yeah.
So either दहशत होती थी कि ये बंदा तो बहुत फाड़ है, इससे बात ही मत करो, ये टेक्निकल में फाड़ देगा, या तो फिर उसको सब वो चाहिता बन जाता था सबका कि सारे असाइनमेंट्स में आंसर्स वो लिख रहा है, ड्राइंग में वो उसी को पता है कि भाई अगर टैंक को तुम नीचे से देखते हो तो वो कैसा दिखे, he can visualize it.
We had
So,
an advantage to that because first year engineering is a lot of these broad topics, right? Like they're doing all the smithy work and whatnot. So I'm in second year, I'm much further ahead in terms of knowledge of electrical engineering and that. But the disadvantage is I'm also coming in second year, like for 5 or 6 of us, and the whole other class of 50 is already formed as a groups have been formed about a year, and so now I don't fit in.
Cultural outcast,
Culturally,
there is, yeah.
So they all
Yes.
want me in the
Yes.
assignments and the labs, but they don't want me. Hey, we're going out for something.
Yes.
They're like, who is this person?
Wow.
So I think that cultural barrier had to be broken.
Did that impact you, and did you deal with it?
So I actually, again, this is interestingly, one person, Saurabh Sinha is his name. He's one of my classmates. And if Saurabh, you're watching, thank you. But he was a peer, like he was a student. And I remember first time I saw Saurabh when he was canvassing for college elections. And he was such a beautiful speaker. And in English and in Hindi. And like I've never seen somebody speak Hindi so fluently. And like when he would speak, everybody would stop and listen. Like he was this person. Anyway, so and he took interest in me for some reason. And I went and talked to him, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm part of the group, whatever.
So he's a senior?
No, he's same class.
He's the same class.
My
Acha,
class member.
acha, okay.
So because he was there for a year, he's already established his name.
I see.
By then, Saurabh Sinha was already a big name.
Yeah. So he's a senior in the ilaka, but not in the.
But it was my
I see.
class, right? So then he obviously, he got elected, and then we used to do SPC used to host this thing called Space, which is intercollegiate, big intercollegiate festival, right?
Yes.
For 3-4 days and all sorts of competitions, and then there were finales for each night and everything. So again, I don't know what he saw in me, and Saurabh Sinha took me as part of his debate group, Hindi debate.
Oh.
And people are like, who the hell is going to debate Saurabh?
Yeah.
So I was on his team.
Ah,
so
okay.
it was a team
Duet.
one. And I still remember like first time we prepared some debate topic. I don't know what the topic was now. I went first. And when I came back, everybody's looking like, अभी तो ये सौरभ आया ही नहीं. यही बोल के चले. तो फिर we fold. So I think that was a person who brought me into the fold. I was not part of the elected committee, but then they had to create a core committee to organize.
So that's when you understood about there's a hierarchy around leadership.
There is
and
a hierarchy everywhere.
This is coming of age that everyone needs to have.
Yeah.
कि बचपन में we are like, मैं तो वो Siemens का ऑफिस देख के मैं लीडर तो बन जाऊंगा. But वहाँ जाने का रास्ता.
Exactly. But I think this is where I was saying that people just come in your life that not only teachers but a peer of yours can see something in you, and again if he would, so then I fast forward next year, I'm actually on stage hosting the Antakshari, which is one of the finale events back then, right? Close Up Antakshari, if you remember. The Close Up was a sponsor, and so it was literally said Close Up Antakshari, which is all.
Oh, you're not just college Antakshari.
No, college Antakshari.
Okay, but Close Up ka sponsor.
The finale of Space ka jo finale, like 3, they were each night. The last night was fashion show or something, right? But one of those nights would be Antakshari was the big finale event for that day, and this is where the teams are coming from all over Bombay, and the outdoors arena is full, and there are people having fights to get in because they don't have pass to get in. Whatever. I'm talking about insane.
Yeah.
So this is because he saw something. I don't know what he saw. He's like, hey, I think you can be good at stage, and gave me a chance, and I didn't disappoint him. And then he's like, and then suddenly being associated with Saurabh means now people want me in their group. So you never know, right? And he didn't have to do that. So I always feel that you have to look at if you're a good leader, you have to look at people and identify their potential, and then hold their hand, give them a chance, and then let them prove. You're not gonna take them there, but at least tell them, hey, you can do this.
That's fantastic.
One of the things as a people manager initially and over time you have to learn is learn to hear things that may be very awkward to hear. If someone is giving you feedback, if someone is telling you something's not working, if you really want to bring down barriers, then you should also be ready to hear what's not working, create that environment. Hey, you can come talk to me about what's not working.
Right.
What am I not doing right?
Right.
And it's hard to hear, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you hear it and synthesize it and figure out the way forward? Those are skills that I learned. Because you're hearing bad things. You're, kal bech ke gaya, kaam nahi karta, I don't want to talk to you. They were not mincing words.
Yeah. No consolation.
Yeah, so then you have to say, okay, let me figure out, let me whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, can we come back tomorrow? Do you have to let me figure this out? And, it takes you have to get over it and keep moving.
Now you are good at public speaking.
I'm okay.
Yeah, in engineering, you just got into this new group, this new guy, your friend Sinha, and you're feeling good. Now what are you thinking? You'll go back to Siemens? वहाँ पे वो ऑफिस लेना है? अभी भी वही चल रहा है दिमाग में?
But by the time I get to engineering college, then tech boom has already started, right? So then you have
so new world is at your feet.
New world is at feet, and then you are at that point. We lived in a world where all these big companies would come to you, Infosys, TCS, all those guys, and before you had your degrees, you would had a job in the last year. So that's the world we are in, and then it's like, I don't want to go to Siemens. I want to do that because that's paying a lot more. It sounds more exciting. So, even if I was an electrical engineer, I got hired as in Tata Infotech, which now became part of TCS. The first company that came on campus, I'm like, shit, I got an offer in the first company. Should I wait to see if there's something better is coming? And my dad's like, no, bird in hand, right? Go for it. So again, this is where the inspiration part for me is also for anybody who's listening is sometimes you need people to inspire you to even dream bigger. It's one thing to have a dream of a certain scope and then have people who can take you there. But for me, the dream got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And so anybody that can at least help you dream bigger is valuable.
That's amazing.
As much as getting you there.
So then you continued your couple of years of job in
I worked
IT.
for about a year in Tata Infotech, and then Lockheed Martin, which is a big company everybody knows. Lockheed Martin Global Telecommunications, one of the subsidiaries, wanted to open a new office in Bombay, which is again back then that those were not new kind of things. So
Yes.
it's almost like a startup type scenario where they hired a GM and said, go, here's the money, go do things that will tell you what to do. And so they were forming a team. And I got to know about that opportunity through one of my friends. So it was a big decision to leave a branded job, almost like nothing's going to happen.
It's almost insane to leave TCS back in the day, in your time. Yes.
Exactly. And then, go do this
Aircraft
company,
thing.
which is like, we don't even know what they're going to do at that point. There's something to do with telecom. So in the office had just set up. So it was a big step. But I said, no, let's try it. What the heck? Because we had good friends who joined and they said, this is awesome. You should come over. And again, that was about a 1.5 year experience that I think was transformational for me, because we did everything from doing our own computer. We had to read manuals to set up our computer network, install computers. There was a mainframe that got shipped. We had to figure out how to turn the damn thing on. I was going back to my own college to do campus interviewing. And the same place where I was lining up, like, hey, when is the next company coming? A 1.5 years later, that
you are there looking for candidates.
Yeah, I was getting like, sir, either chai pio. How many people are we gonna hire this year? So very interesting, because you're wearing different hats, but again, hustle, again, ownership. You feel like this is my place,
right?
And you want to give it everything. You want to bring the right set of people, and so even if it was like a smaller scale, it helped me think like a leader. That's where I felt like I went from. So that all the previous transformation about just getting better at public speaking.
Right.
Then it was about
individual impact.
Yeah. Then, and then the second one, the second transformation was about personally hustle and opening up and figuring out how to talk to people, individual settings and all that. And now it was really about leadership.
Yeah.
How do you think about bringing the best talent? It's like, I'm not going to bring anybody.
Yes.
Just because it's my company.
Yes.
How do I think about it?
Yes.
So that went for a 1.5 years. We did some really good work. We were building in the guts of computer networks.
Yeah. So what's amazing, here, like I know the story is still going to go waywardy here and there in the future as well. But I know that what I'm seeing is like you're taking non-traditional paths.
Yes.
But the personal growth is very traditional in terms of the layers that you're adding onto the personality.
And at that time, I didn't know that's what's happening. That's the key thing.
I want others to realize that is, you won't realize it when it's happening.
Correct.
It'll just be one thing that you want.
That's right.
And, sometimes best advice comes from the worst places. One of the worst leaders that I had, he told me, one of the best advice, he said, ki sometimes, you just... deal with the cards that are given to you. Uh-huh. And he was like that. He was like the bad card for me. Yeah. And I always thought, what does one do with the cards that they are given?
Yeah.
Do you think about it, or do you actually act out and make a change there? From that point, I can draw some parallels into like how I was thinking when I was in the same situation back in the day, Mumbai. Like never imagined, none of the family members had ever been on a flight ever, not even domestic. Yeah. Right. So I was the first guy to sit on an international flight, land in Oklahoma. Right. Same for you. So and then I'm thinking, okay, I am this individual who's self-developed myself to the potential that I could with whatever help I got from the outside. Books बेच के ये वो करके जो भी छोटा मोटा calls and जो भी करके we did it. Now I'm come to a point where I have exhausted all of my capabilities.
Right.
At some point of time I started feeling कि अब मुझे expand करने के लिए ये देश छोड़ के जाना पड़ेगा.
Correct.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, the Lockheed Martin thing was there, and then after 1.5 years of that experimentation, they just decided randomly to shut it down. So we got a Zoom call one day, and not a Zoom call, whatever it was, back pre-Zoom days, whatever it was.
I see.
Don't know,
Skype,
WebEx, maybe, WebEx
Cisco.
or Skype. And then they said, oh, we're going to shut down. Everybody gets like 3 months of severance, and it hurt a lot. Because layoffs is also not a term back then. Like, I'm talking about like when startups is also not a thing.
Naukri se nikal diya, basically,
exactly.
Right? Like,
and in India, that's like such a shame. And I don't know if it's normalized a little bit these days because it's all in the news.
I think it is now.
But back in the day, it was, and it hurt also because we put so much our heart and soul. It's not like losing a job that I was like thinking of a job. Like we built this place, literally, sweat, tears, and everything, right? And it just went away. And so I didn't know how to deal with that. So after I went home, I would basically locked myself in my room for a week, 2 weeks, I don't know. Had a beard, which now I have a beard now, but back in the day, like, why do you have a beard, right?
Yeah. 20 something, right? Like 20 something.
Early 20s,
Yeah.
and then of course in India you have people, once they figure out something wrong, they'll show up on purpose. Like,
Why?
you're not going to job today.
Yeah,
What's
you
going
left
on?
TCS? No, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, you left TCS.
You left. You shouldn't have left TCS.
Yes.
Tata Infotech, stupid choice.
मैं तो बोलता हूँ Siemens में ही चला जाना चाहिए था तो अच्छा होता.
All sorts of things, and I was like, why am I here, right? And
wow,
it was hard. It was
depressing.
very hard. It was
challenging, depressing.
I don't know, depression, but it was sad. I mean,
very sad.
Depression should be used very
not loosely,
not very lightly. Yes,
okay.
But it was very, very hurtful. I remember it till this date. It's been a long time ago, but I still remember that call. I still remember looking at each other in disbelief. I still remember taking many, many days to process it, what just happened, and then the stigma that came with it and everything, right? So at that point, I decided I'm gonna go to US and study. I'm gonna get out of here.
Something new.
Something new.
Was it just something new? Ki US is like, okay, ultimate Trump.
No, not like
US.
that. I think many of my friends in the engineering school already had decided that they were going to go. So everybody was studying. Not everybody. Many of them were studying GRE. Their goal was, I don't even want a job in the here, and I'm just going to go. And it wasn't like so attractive to me at that point. I'm like, I don't know. We'll see at some point. Maybe in 2 years. And then I said, even if I did go to US, my family doesn't have the resources to support it.
Right.
So what I'll do is let me work for 2 years, accumulate some money, and if I then decide to go, I'll at least have resources to go.
I'm sure that was not enough money.
It was decent. It was decent,
okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I still had to get a scholarship.
Yes.
But even then, with scholarship also from India, coming from India, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
For me it was. So it kind of, I think timing-wise, at one point I realized after spending 2 weeks that, hey, wait a minute. Is this the trigger I needed? Because I am here about 2.5 years now. I said 2 years mark, I'm going to ask myself, do I have enough money? Should I then go to US? And here it's about more than 2 years. I was so comfortable and having fun that I never asked that question to myself. And maybe life is
a forcing function.
I said, okay, let's do that. So I did get, I got another job that I knew I was just treated that as a job because I needed more money coming my way for another like 5-6 months or whatever it was while I prepared for the GRE, gave the exam, applied.
Wow.
In parallel,
yeah. I've had a similar path of coming to the US on a quote unquote funding so that I can support myself. And one common theme there for many students is that they land up in no-name states and cities in the United States.
I did too.
I was in Norman, Oklahoma, very well-known school in the United States, but not very well-known in the streets of Mumbai.
Yes.
But that yielded me a lot of freedom and flexibility, sense of individual responsibility and ownership of my own life.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
I came to Kansas City, University of Missouri, again, a pretty good school. And again, I wanted to first work in computer networking because that's kind of where my path had taken me so far. Eventually, I ended up doing medical informatics because my advisor, who I eventually met.
What is medical informatics for people?
Basically, building software related to the healthcare industry, right? So it could be, it's a broad field. A lot of that is come a long way, but back then, like even I guess it come a long way in some sense, but healthcare is kind of behind in terms of how they utilize IT. But patient data and how do you protect and transform and move that data around for the right reporting and analytics and insights and generally speaking.
I see. So very domain specific, but still IT engineering.
Fundamentally, it's a
computer
science problem.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. But the good thing about Kansas City was that there was a lot of research going on.
Yeah, that's how you got the funding, right?
Medical research, good hospitals that were research hospitals. So there was a lot of funding and interest available. That's the reason why medical informatics was interesting because...
There's a big company that Oracle bought over Cerner was part of Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes, that's right.
Interesting. Wow. Yep. So how was your experience there?
In Kansas City?
Many levels of adjustments and adaptations?
Yeah, I mean, coming into US is coming in with a suitcase.
Right.
my children would never understand that concept. But,
yes.
but it is a thing, right?
Yeah,
You come in
of
literally like not knowing what to do. And I've met some of the most wonderful people in Kansas City. Strangers. Somebody picked me up.
The locals.
Locals.
Yes.
There is an organization to support international students.
Yes.
They pick you up. They take you to Walmart. They give you leftover furniture.
Yes.
Like whatever you need. And amazing set of people. I'm like, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was another inspiration that when I have some resources, let me see if I can go back and help. And so at least right then, 2 years after when I could afford a car, I was still a student, the final year. I went back and picked students. And in fact, we did one show, if Indian Student Association, every big university has an Indian Student Association. And every year they would do a event called Surabhi around Diwali, which is, dances and skits and everything. So they would usually do lots of dances and thing. And I said, why are we not doing a stage show? Because let's do it. And they're like, oh, because the mic setup.
Yeah.
And, if one mic on the stage, you kind of miss the point. I'm like, okay, why don't we then do a show where there is no dialogue? We'll just have songs. We'll just have different songs.
Yeah.
Clip different songs, situational songs, and we tell a story through that. So there was a story of this guy essentially who comes to the US, gets picked up at the airport, goes through the different journeys and
how convenient.
And it ends with the guy going to pick up. It was all funny comedy situations, like people are lining up for free food.
Did you wrote that?
Well, we
kind of collaborated.
Okay. And then we had basically, and then there was this one guy who was the Sutradhar, right? So he would narrate the story.
The narrator.
And then the next scene would be a song, and we would just act the situation on the song. So I wanted to direct, and I started like that. And the guy who was the Sutradhar was the main lead. He has great voice. And then it's like, his acting was okay, his body language was not that great, but he had a great voice. Like, we're not even doing a show that needs dialogue. So you do Sutradhar, and then eventually we couldn't find, so I had to do that role. So I did the person who gets picked up and everything. So I was the guy whose story we are telling.
I see.
And it was supposed to be funny and everything. It was funny till the very end. And the last scene, so there were some subtle things we did, right? Like the guy comes in, jeans and a round neck, and he's crouched, and his body language is kind of scared, and as time goes by, he gets a job and everything, right? Then, subtly people didn't realize that now he has a jacket, now he has sunglasses.
Yeah.
Everything is now
from Gap and Abercrombie.
Now he has a bag.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then the last scene when he's goes to pick up another student, and we had the song "Aankhon mein sapne liye, ghar se hum chal to diye." That was the first song when this guy comes in, and then the same song again in the last sequence. And this guy comes in, and we had another guy who had the same dress on.
I see.
Comes in scared, same thing. And then when he looks at him, he realizes that was me not that long ago. And then slowly takes out his sunglasses, takes off his jacket, and he goes and he picks his bag and says, "Let me take your bag." So many people came to me after that and said I cried.
Yes.
I said it's supposed to be a comedy show.
Such a
we
relatable
laughed
story.
90%, and the last scene, they're like, "Dude, you made me cry."
Yeah.
All the people who are senior.
Yeah.
Because so anyway, sorry.
This is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
This is to the point of the show, and comedy is tragedy plus timing. So probably you guys had too much of tragedy in that, and sometimes for us, in the United States, we do tend to make fun of our adversities, here.
Yeah.
And then at some point of time, collectively, we all realize that we are family.
Exactly.
There's no one else here.
And
tomorrow, if something happens to me, my family will probably call you rather than my dad in India.
That's
right?
Absolutely.
So,
that's
wow.
Right. All the comedy was around adversity. All the situations were about, now nobody knows how to cook.
Yeah.
And now suddenly you're 3 people and they're looking at all the shitty food that we're making for each. So it was a funny.
I see.
So it was fun.
Yeah.
Because, but all the situations, people could relate to, that's my story.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've faced situational things and, and so even the last sequence, that's why it hit people hard.
I see.
Because all up till that point was adversity is in the funny situation. But then realizing that now there is payback.
Yes.
To go help somebody
Fantastic.
else.
What a good way of storytelling, filmmaking, playwriting. Love it. On that note, actually, I want to quickly congratulate you on a couple of things. One, I want to congratulate on your recent expansion of your role in Expedia Group, making not just the Seattle Indians or NRIs, but Indians in India proud of what one can achieve through their unique own path and resilience. Secondly, I want to congratulate you on your acting gig with Boss Productions.
Yes.
So let me tell you a little story about that
sure.
before we get into your acting. So this section is going to be about your acting, okay? My wife Manasa, both of us are artists. She dances a lot and she loves to be engaged in the cultural activities here. So she finds every opportunity to be in the shows that allows her the chance to dance. So she said, okay, there's this show that I'm going to go dance. Like, ये show क्या है जिसमें dance हो रहा है? So like, नहीं, there's this show, some play हो रहा है जिसमें dance का एक set है. I'm going to do that in 3 months. I said, fine, no worries. Yeah. Then she's like, oh, come, you're going to, I have the show is next week. Like, what is the show? It's called Sholay. Like, what is it? It's like a Sholay ka rendition. Basically, someone rewrote the Sholay part. And बीच में जो एक गाना आएगा वो महबूबा, that's our dance. I was like, come on, man, I don't want to come to another Sholay parody. Because we've seen many of those, right? With all due respect.
YouTube is full with that.
Absolutely. With all due respect, there are horrible, and it's such a legendary movie that I did not want to ruin it for myself. But I had to be there. To my pleasant surprise, what do I see? The show opens and then there's Thakur walking in. And the crowd just goes berserk. I have a video I'll just share in the podcast as well. And that's you standing there playing iconic Sanjeev Kumar. Not just playing iconic Sanjeev Kumar. You are literally mimicking iconic Sanjeev Kumar and adding a bit of your own touch, because I've worked with you for a while. So I can very clearly tell where Sachin is, putting his own touch.
Ramlal, तेरे बिना जिंदगी से कोई शिकवा नहीं तेरे बिना जिंदगी से कोई ठाकुर साहब हमारे ठाकुर साहब का ऐसे ही बीच में संजीव कुमार उबल कर निकलता रहेगा.
What a fantastic job. How do you feel about doing that?
I love that experience.
Yeah?
I got into it kind of accidentally because so Boss Productions is, some of you may know already in Seattle, there's a group called Algorithms that they've been performing for 10 plus years now. And one of my good friends, Jay, who was on the show, would do like these small skits in the middle of so it's essentially singing orchestra show.
Between orchestra,
So between then you would do, and so he decided like, hey, it's high time we did like a proper, just focused on that. That's how Boss was formed. And they already had the skit, the script and everything. And then through one of our other common friends, I found they're doing auditions. You should go. And I said, who is it for? It's like, oh, Jay. I said, oh, Jay, apna dost hai. Let's go. So I just showed up there, and but it wasn't. I thought I'm just gonna go and chit chat and.
I see. So you did not. You were not like, मैं तो संजीव कुमार की आवाज निकाल सकता हूँ, मैं ठाकुर बनने वाला हूँ.
नहीं, तो मैं जय को फोन किया, बोलता है ये एक शोले का डायलॉग, ही सेंड मी अ डायलॉग. इट वाज जय द मासी वाला सीन where he goes to. इसे ये करके आ जा. Then I went there. I thought कि ठीक है, हम लोग एक दो लोग हैं. It was like a full group of people. They were like seriously sitting there and auditioning, and there was other people lined up to other roles. I basically screwed up big time because I was like not prepared for it. I'm like shit. तो they said, अच्छा काम करो, गब्बर वाला सीन करके आओ. So they अभी go somewhere in the corner, somewhere in figure out, watch this clip and come back. So obviously, like at that point, I was like, I thought in my mind, it's not working.
It won't work out
anyway,
for
I
you.
came back and then I forgot about it. 2-3 हफ्ते चले गए. फिर जय कहा कि, hey, would you be willing to do Sanjeev Kumar? I said, okay, क्या करना है? वो तो कुछ करके भेज, वीडियो रिकॉर्ड करके, don't come for audition. So I recorded myself, कंबल उम्बल डाल के. Again, I was like half laughing because my wife is shooting and I'm like trying to keep a straight face. And so anyway, ऐसे करके. So I don't know how I got in, what they saw in me and whatever, And so practice में भी जब initially when we started practicing first few rounds, I couldn't get it right because the director wanted जोर से बोलो, volume नहीं आ रहा है. मतलब if I do volume, I lose
my I lose my.
अब volume high किया तो बोलते नहीं संजीव कुमार नहीं मिस सर. बोला I can't get both right. Then I said, won't I have a mic? So then if mic खराब हुआ तो ये वो, I need you to project. But I think what he's trying to say is not volume, the projection.
It's a feeling of
the projection was not coming. तो 3-4 हफ्ते के बाद मैं उसको साइड में लेके बोला, देख भाई मेरा जॉब बहुत बिजी है, इतना टाइम मैं नहीं दे सकता हूँ, and I'm not getting it right. I don't want you to be in trouble when the show is closed. Abhi time hai.
So you tried to back out of
I
the
tried
show?
to back
Are
out.
you kidding me,
Yeah.
Sachin? After that
Nahin,
performance, I cannot believe you were
because
backing out of the
I
show.
wasn't able to get it right, and I can see the director was so frustrated. Not frustrated. He was a nice. He's a nice guy.
ठीक है,
right?
it's okay. Fair to be
हाँ,
frustrated. ठीक है.
तो पर
Fair.
पूरा नहीं आ रहा, मजा नहीं आ रहा. And what was happening is because I'm so focused on getting the Sanjay Kumar thing that हम लोग का back and forth with Ramlal is not working. It's comedy is all about timing.
हाँ.
तो ऐसे flat लग रहा है scene. तो हो क्या रहा था कि when we started putting it together, by the time we get to like scene 3 or 4, the iconic scenes where Basanti comes in and does a dialogue, or तब से लग रहा है हाँ यहाँ से मजा आ रहा है कि पहला 3 सीन ना बहुत फ्लैट हो रहा है. पहला 3 सीन मैं हूँ.
वही ओपनिंग ही था जो देखा हमने.
ओपनिंग ही फ्लैट होगा तो फिर कैसे चलेगा?
अच्छा नहीं था यार. True.
And I said कि actually that I don't want. I'm a new guy. You guys have been doing it for a long time, and everybody has done stage at that. मैं स्कूल में किया था.
Yeah.
School वाला show is nowhere close to the production you guys saw. They all knew the lingo also of upstage, backstage. मतलब ये क्या बात करें? आगे आ जा.
Left या right?
तो बोले तो are you sure तुमने पहले कभी किया नहीं? मतलब नहीं, स्कूल में किया था. हम लोग का स्कूल वाला show is very different scale, right? And they knew everything, what exactly the script writer and the director would discuss. And तो एक टाइम से I was very looking at it as a student also, learning. कि क्या fascinating world है यार ये सारा. But I told him, and he said, again I'll give him credit. It's like नहीं तू ही करेगा ये. I know तू करेगा.
अच्छा.
There's no don't have.
Who was the director?
Kev.
Kev. Oh, Kev. I know Kev. Kev. Great job. Fantastic,
Kev
man.
ने मेरे को बोल दिया.
आपकी डायरेक्शन पे भरोसा आ गया मुझे.
Kev ने बोल दिया कि तू ही करेगा. I don't want to have this conversation again.
You nailed it, man.
Focus करो.
There is media to show. And you tell me, how was it to be giving directions and making decisions for decades and then suddenly find yourself in a place where you don't even know the vocabulary and you know people are kind of putting you under the pressure and like karo na kyun nahi kar rahe and you know be better, do better, here are your resources, here are your training wheels. How do you relate to that experience?
Actually, it's good. It's a very humbling experience, right? In fact, many of the people who one of my friends जिसकी वजह से job मिला, she was in the production. She would come and tell my wife कि I can't believe he's the same guy. He's sitting भीगी बिल्ली की तरह बैठा है वहाँ जाके. Like serious, that's the word she. कुछ नहीं, चुपचाप बैठ के सुनते हो, डांट रहे हो उसको, हाँ कर रहा है. मतलब तो because you need to know that is एक captain ship का there's one captain of the ship, right? Are you there as a actor who is the first time actor who is trying to figure things out? तो सुन के लो.
Yeah.
And you know, and so I think everybody you the same person, you being a brother, a husband, a father, a professional, like you're playing different roles, and you need to know that you can't let them spill over. You can't let them spill over.
True.
I can't talk to my wife like I talk, like as an SVP, I'm telling my team, ऐसे करो, काम नहीं चलेगा, गड़बड़ हो जाएगी.
थोड़ा liberating भी लगा क्या?
वो actually
कि नहीं है यार, मैं नहीं हूँ इधर boss. क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
एक point पे वो भी था कि I'm just sitting there. Decisions लेने का, because as a leader, that's the primary thing. You're taking a lot of hard decisions. That's primarily your job, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to make decisions, क्या करे, scene कम कर दिया, तुम लोग भी बोलो क्या करना है, हाँ मैं करूँगा. So it was that way. It was very liberating for sure. Liberating and also humbling. A lot of learning. Just learning in the sense of how this thing works. मजा आया. I really enjoyed. I'm so glad Kev told me to stick around. And love the whole experience.
Good enough experience to continue to do more of that?
If I get another chance, I
That's
will,
amazing.
yes.
How does that change your perspective into your org members going outside and working on different things that they love?
All of us should do what they do outside of the work, right? Like people like to go golf, they like to go play sports, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the one other good thing is at first I was looking at is like, oh shit, I have a job and I have this. Once I started looking this as an outlet, having fun. In fact, when I look back, the actual shows were fun for sure.
Yes.
They gave me so much of a high. And walking on that stage, that scene that you're talking about, I'm walking on stage and everybody is just cheering and clapping and laughing. Sachin! I'm like, okay, well, this is awesome. But all the practice sessions that we did leading up to that were as much as fun as this was.
I see.
And
I see.
the first time I saw all the dances with because these dances were happening in parallel.
Yes, you guys had no idea
I
about
had
that.
no idea.
Yeah, and that's why I had no idea what's going on in the other world.
First time I saw Mehbooba also, I'm like, wow,
on the
this is
stage.
awesome. These guys are like. Again, this is a decision I didn't have to worry about. मेरा scene में practice करो, and like parallelly somebody's doing the dance practice, somebody's coordinating that, somebody's figuring that out. But this all has to come together someday. So I think it was maybe 1 week before the show or something, they came to that building. I at least saw that for the first time, all the different dances, and I'm like, these guys are amazing.
That's nice. Wow.
And your Manasa did a great job.
Yeah.
Right there. Thank you.
Director Saab.
Director Saab, good job.
So moving on to a little fun stuff here. Fun to real life. We spoke about taking non-traditional paths.
Yeah.
We spoke about winning the social game as well at some point of time. How to do that, how to get more people to help you on your path, on a good ethical path. We spoke about garnering energy from activities outside of your work, or just parallel worlds talking to each other. At some point of time, you start thinking about your own existence, and you've exhausted all the materialistic dreams that you had or achievements that you had put on your list.
Yeah.
And then you come to a point where you're like, oh, now what is the meaning of myself? What have I become? How have your journey, every person who's sat here, successful in their own right, they have had very transformational journeys through spirituality or any other mechanisms or tools. What are yours?
I found spirituality a little bit late in life, so to speak. Like I don't think I'm very religious.
Okay. And your definition of spirituality, so that people don't misunderstand you here forward?
I think that for me, it's a belief that there are some things we can't explain. This whole thing, you talked a lot about cards being dealt with, why somebody getting dealt good cards versus bad cards. I don't know. Why somebody who does everything right, works hard, doesn't get something, and somebody who's coasting around is getting everything. Like we see all that stuff happen. Like you can't explain that. So for me, it's like at some point you need to find a grounding to these thoughts, that there is probably some higher power that we can't explain. Whatever you call that, what medium you use, that's what religion becomes. Like you have a certain name for that thing, entity, and you have a certain way of approaching it, maybe some rituals around it. And for me, the main thing is for you to believe that, because if you feel like everything is in your control, then you will be disappointed.
Did you go through a journey where you felt you had no control as a child, and then you had some control, and then you felt like I am the controller of everything, and then you went into a spiritual kind of spiral of the groundingness? Is that a journey that everyone takes?
I think growing up, my family is fairly religious, so I was brought up in a religious setup.
You were?
Yeah, I was born, and I didn't dislike it or whatever, but for me it was a little bit like I don't hate it, I don't love it, like, it is what it is. And I was always fascinated by our stories, what people use the term mythology. I don't want to use that word. It's a very colonial word.
Yeah.
The stories that we grew up with. Some of maybe we argue that it's our history. Some of it could be history that happened, and some of the parts got fictionalized or storytelling
iterated over time.
Altered over time to make it more fascinating.
Yes.
But maybe these are real stories, maybe they are not. But I'm always fascinated. I've always read a lot about those.
Yeah.
I still do.
Yeah.
I hear podcasts about that. People interpret all these stories, whether it's Ramayana or the Mahabharata, right? Their interpretation of that. I feel there is lots of learnings in that you can apply in real life. You can apply in your leadership principles. You can apply in lots of different areas that I learn and I do. But that aside, generally definition of spirituality for me was as later phase in life. I think earlier phase felt to me was, I'm kind of mostly going up, so to speak, right? Like something's getting better and better. And I get into newer education. I got a job and something, generally speaking, going up. And then later phase in life, things would happen that may not be in your control. And then you'd hear things about you that are not true, and like that's not true, and why are people saying this about me?
Yeah.
That's not me, and it hurts. So anyway, so when things like that happen, then you feel you need somewhere to find some peace. So that's where I'm like trying to reconcile that. It's very interesting, actually. One of my executive coaches that I get, executive coaches that I work with, some were awesome, some were not that great. But one of the good ones, she said, made me fill a form which had different things about strengths, weakness. And then there was a section on spirituality. I'm like, why is the executive coach talking about spirituality? And I didn't fill it up. And my first session, I'm like, why do you want to know about this? And then she told me things that were in my head, I just wasn't accepting, which is like, similar to this point about that.
Yeah.
Not, she didn't use the word control. I'm using the control, not control from a Gita context.
Yes,
but
yes.
She used a similar concept. And I'm like, okay, that's a good point. I need to explore what gives me peace. Started doing some meditation and letting go of things. And okay, I can't do anything about it, so fine.
Do you think letting go is a more important skill than being better at controlling?
It is. It is.
Why? Why do you say that?
I mean, if you look at you pick and not just corporate world, you pick any leader, any public figure, not necessarily leader also. If anybody has any reasonable influence of any kind, you will not have 100% people who like them or say good things about them. If you're doing anything meaningful in life, you never have anybody who pick any leader, anybody, even Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People would say, oh, well, great. Lots of people have not so great things about him. I'm not judging, and I'm not even saying which side of the fence I'm on any particular leader, but the fact remains that there will always be some percentage of people that don't agree with you, don't like you. You may not have done anything bad to them, but they may actually dislike you a lot, right? And
in fact, in films, I've learned that somebody, as an artist, I've learned that somebody may dislike you because they like another artist better than you.
Exactly.
And that is the reason that I could never fathom. Like, how am I a target because you like someone else?
And if you take that example to say, what are you going to do about that? You can't change their mind. Nothing you will do will change their mind unless you retire and say, I'm done with acting. You don't want to do that.
Yes.
So that's where I think, I won't say just for corporate leaders, but I would say probably for everybody in any, just the scale changes, right? So if you are, president of a country, maybe you have millions of people one way and millions of people another way. But if you're not that big of an influence scope, you might have 5 people here and 2 people here, right? But you will always have someone on the other side. Now, one thing you should do is somebody who is not happy with you, whatever, and if there is something they want to come talk to you about and you can do something about it, there is feedback that it helps you grow and become better, you should absolutely listen to it. But if it's just there, your example actually is a great one.
Which one?
The artist one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like, what are you going to do about it?
Nothing.
You can't go and talk to these people and say, what can I do for you to like me? Nothing. So letting go is a very important, and this is where I think having that connection to spirituality is, or trying to reconcile why I got dealt with these cards. You can keep thinking about that, or you can keep moving forward. One thing that I always remind myself when I find myself in a setback type situation is one of the leadership principles in Amazon says you should be willing to be misunderstood for a period of time. If you're doing the right thing, you should be willing to be misunderstood for a period of time. That is such a powerful
Very powerful sentence.
That you believe you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
Some noise is happening. If you go focus too much on that, then you will distract from the path. You'll say, maybe I should take a U-turn, not do it. If you believe in it, hang around. And there have been many situations where people have come back after that thing. It's like, oh, I get it now.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. From the leadership point of view, another few rapid fire questions I want to ask you is like, at certain point of time, you're self-developing, then you prove yourself with the help of a few mentors. You get to a point where people start trusting in you, whether they like you or not, right? But then after a certain point of time and experience, you've continued on that path, people start liking you and see potential in you to be able to help you beyond a mentorship point. So there's another leader I mentioned to you about on this podcast. They flirted with an important theme, which was like, to become a leader, you need to graduate from the mentorship stage to a sponsorship stage. And that's the hardest part to do, because there's
somebody to sponsor you.
Because that's not there's no blueprint to that.
That's right.
It has a lot to do with luck. It has a lot to do with, chances, resilience, etc., etc. What are your thoughts around that? And people listening who are a little more advanced now, right? Who have good mentorship, they have somewhere in their career, but now they want to up level. What would be your advice to them?
So I think that's true. I would say as you go higher up in the rank, right, the pyramid gets smaller and smaller at the top. So I think sponsorship starts meaning a lot more. But if you are out of college, I don't want people to say, well, I need to find a sponsor to get from SD1 to SD2, right? I mean, it will help.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
It becomes more pertinent as you go up. Generally speaking, if you have a sponsor, then it does help for sure, because that person, I think the difference for mentor is more tactical versus strategic, right? Like the mentor would say, okay, what do you want? I have a session with you.
Right.
Come in with some questions, I help you answer, whatever. Sponsor would be probably driven by an outcome. I want to see you get to the next level. So let me help you get there. And we are working towards that. Ideally, your manager should be your sponsor. If you have a manager that's your sponsor, great place. Or at least they are not negative sponsors. People say that they leave their manager, which is so true.
Yes. They leave their manager,
So maybe it's a good point to assess that, I would say. But again, as the pyramid gets smaller, you may not have a choice. I mean, your manager could be somebody that you can't let go suddenly to another team.
Right.
It's a role. You can't go to a different role suddenly.
Right.
So it's important to find. I think it's good to find sponsors if you can. But I would also say if you don't have one, don't be discouraged that you can't grow because you don't have a sponsor.
Yeah, continue on a path that develop at a small scale, just prove concepts and stuff.
I think you are your biggest sponsor. And a lot of times people make a mistake of forgetting that. Now, what does that mean? If you are your own sponsor, doesn't mean you go in every meeting and start talking about how awesome you are. In fact, if you do more of that, sponsorship means how do you create your own brand? How do you sell yourself? And sometimes the right thing is not to oversell yourself. Sell in the right forum at the right time to the right set of people. And if you do that, then you're really being your own sponsors. So I actually believe that you be your own sponsor, be on the lookout.
That's fantastic.
And if somebody feels like somebody's taking interest in you, if they're being a good mentor, have a conversation with them about. I would be more eager to sponsor someone if I know they're a problem solver. I know that because if I go and pitch you to somebody else and then you go and fail, then it's on me.
It's on your credibility as well, right?
How do you build that with me, right? So you need to show that you are a problem solver.
Makes sense. Shifting gears a little bit here towards our last section. You are a dad, you are everything, you are an actor, you are a leader, you're everything, but ultimately where you lose the battle is being a dad. Speaking about the pyramid getting smaller at the top, two things I want to sort of combine and have a conversation with you. The pyramid is disrupting with the AI. AI being Sundar literally called AI the electricity of our time, right? As that level of innovation that is happening. You as a senior leader, someone who has directly given opportunities to individuals like me in the space of machine learning and computer vision back in the day. I'm pretty sure you are thinking a lot about where this is going, trying to predict the directions of different industries, your own travel tech itself, but also in medical and other technology industries. Now there's an interesting debate or discussion that is going around that we feel that LLMs or AI has come to a point where self-sponsorship, self-education, taking your own path, creating everything that you mentioned about yourself and my journey is going to be very easy now for individuals. You just dropped your daughter at school, college. How do you feel about the future of college? How are the kids looking at AI differently? What are their expectations from college? Can we talk about that a little bit?
So my daughter also didn't want to do computer science. I wanted her to, but she's into healthcare. She's doing pre-med with a focus on neurosciences.
I see.
However, I told her that no matter what field you're in, if you're not going to use AI, you will be left behind. So she's just a few weeks in. I want to give her some time, but I want to start asking that question that when you are in the courses that are being taught or otherwise, how are they, the college is kind of using AI? Are they a part of the course curriculum or you can see it? AI world is changing every day. And if colleges don't catch up to that, they will be maybe irrelevant. Possible, right? But also individually, she should be using a lot of that. And again, I told her that, hey, maybe you can use AI to become the best top student in your class if you use it the right way. Right? So synthesizing information, summarizing information, things that would have taken a lot of time. I don't know what the policy is going to be, using it to generate some reports. But if you use it as an assistant, meaning like you don't want to randomly say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a report for this assignment, and you just copy paste, and that's bad. But if you do all the work, you know, if you have to go and read 10 different things, which have taken 10 hours, maybe you synthesize it, understand the concept, apply your judgment, then say, here are things I want to express, but I want to waste time writing 3 pages. Use an assistant to write that for you, and then you read it and say, okay, that's what it is. That's okay, in my opinion. That's not cheating.
So in an assistive.
It's an assistive way.
Okay.
The point is that are you using it to learn faster, learn deeper, and I mean, end of the day, for the same course, because you're time constrained in college, we all were, like there are 100 things going on. If you are able to get 50% knowledge in a certain, now I get 90% knowledge. Why would you not do that? Right? So AI is applicable in any setup. If you use it to say, hey, generate this assignment for me and just copy paste, and suddenly if somebody reading your assignment may feel like, oh my God, this person is awesome. But you did not gain anything out of that as part of that exercise. So that is where you can become more dumb. If you're using it to learn and become an expert, then the process of becoming an expert in something could be faster.
Also, interesting.
But you can't avoid it. Right. So like, if you go to the gym and now you have equipments, and using the equipment makes your exercises efficient, you still have to exercise. You can't like say, I go to the gym and press a button and suddenly I'm buffed up. Like we shouldn't be thinking about AI in that sense.
Actually taking that example, it's a very interesting thing that I have been thinking about. I don't know if there are articles or people talking about this, but actually the gym example that you mentioned, right? Not 2 people going to the same gym doing the same workout will have the same result.
Correct.
So I think there is an intellectual disadvantage to people using AI as well.
Correct.
So if you are more intelligent, then you would or creative, right? You would use AI in a very different way. Do you think there's a disadvantage?
And I try not to use the word intelligent because it sometimes creates a class system of some sort.
Yes,
right?
I don't know a better word for that. What I'm trying to say is,
I think there are. Let us put this way: like human beings have capabilities that are differently arranged, so to speak, right? So someone, for them, like computer science concept will be so no-brainer.
Cognitive power.
Like they get it. For some, they love history, and their ability to think through history and analyze that will be different. Computer science student may do very badly in history and so on. So that's from coming from that concept. But if I want to become like, decided to become a history expert in Indian history out of blue, can AI help me get there? Not automatically. It can help me start that journey. So if it would have taken me 5 years of lots of reading and talking to people and getting people's time to, hey, I want your perspective on this event that happened, whatever. Today I can fast track some of that. But you still need to synthesize as a human being, like make sure you understand. So you go speak to somebody, write your own analysis of the events is your own analysis of the event. So your brain is still analyzing that. You can't outsource that piece, right? So in our context, in the technology sector, there's a lot of work we do, and you know this, right? Migrating from platform A to platform B, upgrading from C to D, like that's not adding value. So if there are things that I can use AI to get out of that, then my mind is now free to really think about how do I build solutions for travel. Like travel is I love traveling myself. I love planning for travel and everything. But there are still a lot of problems in travel that we haven't solved fully. Like I want, in one of my teams, we use this example, right? When we were little kids, when we thought about travel, we just thought about the joy of travel. But when we grew up, it's not as joy. Like, oh shit, I have to go book this and do
the
that.
jitters of travel.
What if this happened? What if the flight is cancelled? Like, we want to get to a point, if you look at a vision, where the right app or in the future chat or whatever you use for travel takes away all of that stuff from you, and you really think about the joy of travel. For us to get there, there's a lot of work to be done. And if I can get out of this, get from A to B, C to D, managing all the existing, that's great. So the way I would put there is use AI not worry about those things. So we worry about how do I bring the joy back in travel, so to speak.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I'm pretty sure you are already thinking about these things, and we don't have to get into obviously about what Expedia Group is doing there. But I see a lot of potential opportunities there. One kudos I want to publicly give to Expedia Group, just because you are also in the leadership team. Is a few months ago, I think 6 months ago, my sister in India, she was taking a single solo trip from Mumbai to another state I won't name, just for the reasons. But we were looking at different options to understand whether the area is safe for her or not. And any of the Indian applications were not able to provide us that kind of clarity. Gemini and ChatGPT were not there, or else we would have just copied the reviews into them. We found that Expedia was the only application that gives safety ratings in that area for a certain hotels. And that made our life very easy in that night, because it was an overnight decision. I'm here in the United States. You can imagine the NRI problem, right? The typical NRI problem. My sister is traveling alone and, things like that. So kudos to that. And I hope you I'm pretty sure you guys are bringing more such features to that.
Actually, this is something in one of my previous roles we worked on. The team is called Marketplace Trust and Safety. So Marketplace Trust and Safety team, kudos. Good job.
Kudos to you, From another trust and safety guy. I've been 8 years in trust and safety now, thanks to you and everything that we've done together. Everyone that I know has a complaint with the leaders. And that complaint is they don't have much time.
Yes.
So every email needs to be like 2 lines. Every chat needs to be like 5 words, 6 words, things like that. Through this podcast, we understand why. You guys are busy. But now we have some questions that you have to quickly answer as rapid fire. Okay? So a few things. Does it matter for you to be a successful guy or a girl if you're not from an IIT or an IIM?
No, I am not.
Do most non-traditional path seekers have an interesting life and generally succeed?
Generally, I think a great example of that would be Steve Jobs.
That's fantastic. Yes, absolutely. What does a leader need to know most if you have a 10-minute meeting with them about your project?
What do you need from me?
Okay, that is one thing.
If you need help to accelerate, do something different, decisions that are stuck, things like that, that should be prioritized.
I have an amazing idea I want to share with my leader. Should it be 1 page or 5 pages?
There is a saying that if I had more time, I would write less. It's the whole about the elevator pitch, right? You should always have like a 3 version of your story. If you're a really good idea, you have literally an elevator pitch. Somebody says 2 seconds. What is it? Somebody says I've got 15 minutes. And somebody says, okay, now I want to spend all day. You need to have all these versions ready. And if you have a clarity of thought, then only you can get the same thing said in a short, less number of words. Amazing. If it's unclear, then you tend to write a lot more because it's all your thoughts on the paper.
Amazing. Can I get clarity on thought by just practice alone?
Not necessarily. No. I think if it's a good idea, and this is where I told you all the way those years back that you need to be very clear what is it that you're saying. Then you will be able to say it well. If it's not clear, you can't articulate it. So sometimes it's okay to bring together someone that you trust to bounce those ideas and be open for them to really poke holes in it. Then you don't get upset like, wait, why you're my friend, why are you saying this to me?
Absolutely. 2 last questions, 2 more questions. Does it hurt more to assume or to directly clarify with the leaders, no matter what their level?
Don't assume. Do not assume.
My leader is asking me to do a stand-up comedy show in our all hands with him. Should I accept
Absolutely. I would say yes, but be very clear what is it for.
Yes.
Use our example.
Yeah.
Had it be a different team, different setup, it may have been a very bad idea. We were at the point in the time where the team was mature enough, we had built the trust, blah, 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 whatever, that those things would be accepted. If you're addressing your team for the first time, you
don't do something crazy
got
like that.
reorged and now you're the new leader first, then you're like, okay, I'm going to do a stand-up comedy. That will be, I think if you use it in the right way, sure.
Absolutely. And I remember also very cautiously you made sure that everything that we were going to say was appropriate before the show. Right. Multiple times we practiced it. Yeah.
And the other thing you would remember is that I was butt of the jokes.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. Yes. Because I was butt of the projects after that. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. Sachin, this was such a wonderful experience, not just to hear from the horse's mouth, as they say, but also to share all the amazing learnings that you have hard earned in your life. that I have myself benefited from, and then to be able to scale it out to other people. I hope a bunch of people, enjoy the discussion that we've had. I've definitely had so much fun.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best on this new journey. Now that, the nest is slowly emptying, I think I want to see you more on Bollywood shows, doing Sanjeev Kumar and different Bollywood actors. Maybe we get an opportunity to collaborate on a film or a series
I
or
would love
something
to do
like
that. Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, for sure.
I hope you had fun.
I had a great fun.
And thank you so much for living a great and inspirational life so that all of us could learn and benefit from directly.
And I thank you for leading this life. And in fact, I've learned a lot from your approach in life as well. And one of the reasons I'm excited to come here is to celebrate your non-traditional journey as well, right?
Thank
Coming
you so
from
much.
the different field into tech. And I was a little surprised. He said, hey, I'm going to leave all this and do stand-up comedy. I'm like, are you serious? Like, and, our common friend Reddy, and I through him keep in touch of what's going on, and he would tell me about the various rounds you're doing. And so I've always, been sort of on the sidelines, being your cheerleader, want to see you succeed, because don't follow the herd, right? And and so there's a lot of inspiration that I've also gotten from your journey.
Thank you so much.
And the reason I wanted to come here is to be part of that. You are on this unique journey, and if I can be part of that and help it grow further, then
thank you
awesome.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. I really had a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Jack of Alls, I hope you enjoyed Sachin Singh, and please let me know in the comments how much and what else would you like to know. If you have few more questions and you are at a juncture in your professional career where you need some advice, let us know in the comments what that would be. I'll try to relay them to Sachin. Very special episode for me today. To this date, to this month, we started our journey just a year ago with nothing but a couple of friends having a chat on a podcast. And that turned out to be a 25,000 people family on YouTube. We hope to grow, and I hope that we are driving the value that we started the podcast with, and we are keeping ourselves true to the mission. But at the same time, there are a few things that I want to request you. Data speaks louder than emotions. So what I'm observing is that 70%, close to 70% of our users or of our viewers are women, but 80% of our views come from people who have never subscribed to my channel. So that is a very sad state of affairs for my poor team members who are working day and night hard behind the cameras for all of you, and the guests that wish that they get a feedback from you that everything that they have shared from their life has actually turned out to be helpful. So if you don't mind, please hit that subscribe button. I never thought I would come to this point where I had to, but you know how the economics of social media works. So please hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for 25,000 subscribers in a year. With that, we end season 3 with a bang. Thank you so much. We'll see you for season 4. This is Adi Naidu, and this is Sachin Singh. We have been Jack of All.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ta, 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 ta.